Hey guys, it's your boy Silly Observations back again with another video. Today I wanted to talk about why I was wrong about Superman, and after this video you might realize maybe you are too. I have to admit that when I was a little kid, I really never gravitated towards Superman. I liked characters that either had a darker side like Batman or Wolverine or even Daredevil, or were just always facing some kind of terrific choices and struggles, like Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of all time. I didn't really relate to anything Superman related. I thought he was just too strong and too good. You know, he was like a Boy Scout goody-goody, always doing the right thing. And on top of that, just never really struggled because he was so powerful. But then recently, through great interpretations of like classic Justice League cartoons and the Justice League Unlimited cartoons, as well as the CW Superman and Lois, it really made me see another side of Superman that I just missed before. So today I want to talk about what makes a good Superman and what some good examples of it are. Really coming to the realization of what makes a good Superman is realizing that his struggle's different. His struggle's not about raising his limits or becoming more powerful or really even struggling against a villain. His struggle's more about an internal struggle as well as sacrifice. This is, for example, illustrated in the Justice League Unlimited episode For the Man Who Has Everything. In this episode, Clark is trapped by Mongul in an illusion via a monster with many tentacles, and it shows Clark an illusion of everything he's ever wanted, his idealistic world, like if every one of his wishes got granted. And in this fantasy, he's living on Krypton. Of course, he has no superpowers. His whole planet and people and race are still alive. He has a family there. He has a son. He's a farmer. And you really see, first of all, what his desires are. This is a man who has the powers of a god. He's more powerful than anybody around him. And all he really wishes for is peace, companionship, and purpose. You know, that's a very, very human point, even from right there. But at the end, even more so, you see the true character of Superman. When he figures out it's an illusion, he decides that he needs to leave. He looks into his son's face and he says to him that he loves him, but that he doesn't belong there. He says he's all he's ever wanted, but he knows he has to go. And he sacrifices himself, and that's who Superman is. He will always sacrifice his own happiness if it means doing the good thing, the moral thing. These kinds of stories raise the stakes for Superman and really allows us to see just how truly lonely it is to be the Man of Steel, and just how well he handles it and bears that responsibility on his shoulders without ever complaining. Another misconception that I always had about Superman was that he was just too powerful. And of course, it's easy to be the greatest superhero when you have all of the powers and you're just stronger than everybody around. But we see throughout many stories that really understand him, that really he's a lot more than just his powers. He's his character. And the League believes Superman to be dead. Here we see the world mourn Superman and the Justice League mourn Superman. Even Lex Luthor mourn Superman. And you really see the force for good and the symbol for good and justice that Clark and Superman represented in this world. As you see all of the Justice League members mourn in different ways, and Batman even goes through some denial, which ends up being totally justified because we find out in the part 2 that Superman is actually not dead. He's actually just been transported to the future in a post-apocalyptic world where he runs into Vandal Savage. But the important thing is that in this world, there is a red sun. In this version of our planet, there is a red sun. Therefore, Superman does not have his powers. Yet we see him persevere in the face of hopelessness and never give up and continue to push and forgive Vandal, treat him decently, and then work hard to get his help and get back to his home, get back to doing good. This shows a true understanding of the Superman character way of being. Another medium that did a excellent job with it is the CW show Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois grounds Clark and grounds Superman in a better way than any live action interpretation has thus far. This is by far the best live action interpretation of Clark and Superman, and by far the best interpretation, period, of Lois Lane. She is a real character with her own motives, imperfections, opinions, and actions. She is third dimensional and is a main character from the beginning of the show till its very end. But this show really does something perfect with the Superman character, which is ground him in being a father. And we really get to see how he thinks, what's more important to him. And we see that this isn't some unobtainable flying god that is above the rest of us. This is a man that's rooted in family. This is a man that's rooted in his loved ones and the idea of doing what's right. And the idea that he has to use his powers, his abilities, and who he is for good, that it's a gift for humanity, that not just for himself. Some of the interpretations of Superman that did do such a great job, Man of Steel, for example, begins with interesting themes of alienation and purpose. When Clark is growing up, you can see that. You can see the alienations in how other kids treat Clark, which is great. This is a part of the Superman character, to deal with that burden of power, to deal with that alienation and feeling different. But he's supposed to persevere and come out through the other side hopeful, with a good outlook on humanity. Not this dark, gloomy take that Snyder has, where he just obsesses over making every character basically a brooding, darker version of themselves. Superman is not that. Again, it starts out well with it being rooted in a family and his dad telling him things like, whoever you grew up to be, son, that person is going to change the world. Basically saying whether you choose the good path or the wrong path, it will impact everybody because you are simply that special, which is why Superman needs to be such a beacon for good, such a beacon for greatness. Such a beacon for hope, because in every other what if scenario and alternate universe where he wasn't raised by the Kents, it ends up very bad for humanity. It's not good news for humanity. All the way from him being an evil dictator that sees humans as nothing but scum, to like a Red Sun variant of Superman, which he means to do well, but he still ends up abusing his powers because he just wasn't instilled with those good old farm boy values from the Kents. Anybody that begins the story that way but then loses that later on in the story just loses thread of what the character in the story is about. It lacks the Clark Kent character. The Henry Cavill Superman, he is just not hopeful. He's not dorky. He's not innocent. He's not who Clark Kent is supposed to be. And I think right now Superman actually matters more than ever in a world where media and superhero media is being dominated by shows like The Voice and Invincible and Deadpool, all of which I love, by the way. But we're being dominated currently by sarcasm and cynicism. I want to see a return to a non-ironic superhero. That's why I'm so excited for James Gunn's Superman. Just from the trailers right now, you can see that he understands the character far better than Snyder ever did. Just from the trailers, he's using a lot more balanced tone. The tone is a lot better. The colors are warmer. Just from the glimpses, you can see that his family is in it and that he has a warm, real relationship with his family, both his father and his mother. You can see that he values their advice and that they have aimed them in the direction of truth and justice, and that's what he wants to do what's right. But I also like that it's not a simplistic or unrealistic version of it. You still see that Superman is having to go through the struggles of, for example, the world and the media not trusting his motives, his intentions, and being frightened of his powers. This has always also been a part of Superman's character. He can take the criticism. He can take the hate. And he can do that while still loving us and while still believing in us, because he wants to do the right thing no matter what the repercussions are on his side. I also love that you see glimpses of an expanded world. You see glimpses of the Fortress of Solitude with all its technology straight out of a comic book. You see Krypto, you see glimpses of the Justice League. Overall, I'm just truly very excited for that take on Superman by James Gunn. it seems that it really stays true to the Superman values, which are justice, truth, and hope. He's not a dark god. He's a beacon. He's a beacon for light. It's so symbolically fitting that Superman gets his powers from the sun, because that's what he represents. He represents light against the dark. He represents everything that is good and great in humanity. Although he faces his struggles with alienation, with the world questioning his motives, with the burden of what his powers are, or what it means to be Superman, what it means to be the most powerful being in the world. It means that the needs of the world and the needs of humanity will always come before your own happiness, before your own comfort. And this is an idea that was just, I guess, too complex or too hidden in plain sight for me to truly understand him as a kid. So if you ever dismiss Superman like I did, maybe it's time for you to take a second look at some real narratives that understand him. Like I said, I recommend anything really from the DC animated universe. The Superman series is fantastic and understands him. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, for me, even do a better job of doing that. And the CW Superman and Lois, like I said, is the best live action interpretation. I will be doing upcoming videos on any of those. Well, guys, that was it for this observation today. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. Clearly, you have great taste. So you might want to subscribe and hit that notification bell, that when you know when new videos are coming out. And by the way, look in my channel and look at different playlists if you enjoyed this video, because there's many like it and many more coming. Thank you.